Did you know there are two versions of you inside your head? Hey guys, I'm Laura, and in this video, I want to talk to you about your ego, your higher self, and the difference between the two. So first off, we'll start with the ego, known as the false self. Now your ego, the job of the ego is it's designed to keep you safe. It's like a survival type thing, but it is your negative way of thinking. So I'll give you an analogy. So you imagine back in the day, before we had houses, when we're living out in the bush and we had to hunt our own meat. Okay, so when you go out to hunt your meat, maybe not in my country, New Zealand, we don't really have a lot of animals out there that will attack us like other countries. So let's say you're in a different country where there's lions, okay, or tigers they're just roaming, right? So you're going out to hunt for your meat, and as you're going out to hunt, you're thinking to yourself, okay, we've got to be careful because there's going to be lions out here that are going to want to eat us, right? That's your ego that's keeping you safe. It's a survival type thing. It is negative thinking because it's thinking, oh, there's going to be something out here that's going to want to eat me. It's a negative type thinking, but its job is to keep you safe. Okay, so the ego's job. So that's analogy doesn't really, it's not relevant to our era of living. So the way the ego will keep you safe is through things like self-doubt. So if you ever want to try something new and you want to step out of your comfort zone, and then you start getting the thoughts of like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. Oh, what if I make a fool of myself? And you start getting all the self-doubt and these negative type thinking. That's your ego. What's your ego trying to do? It's trying to keep you in your safe little box. Don't step out of your comfort zone. I'm going to keep you here by filling your mind with self-doubt. That's your ego, right? So your ego is not who you really are. Your ego is your self-image. It is your social mask. It's the role you are playing. So like my ego, the name of my ego was Laura Lemming. Your ego thrives on approval. So you'll be out in the world seeking approval from others. That's your ego. It's to boost your ego, right? It wants control, and it is sustained by power because it lives in fear. Okay? So your ego, for example, some people out here may want to buy a flash car to show off to people, because what it's doing is boosting their ego, boosting that self-image. Look at me, it's all me, me, me. Look at me in my flash car. You know what I mean? That's your ego, and your ego thrives off that sort of stuff. Now, we're going to switch to the higher self. Most people have no idea that they have a higher self or what it is. And your higher self is your true self. It's your soul, right? It is always connected to Source, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. It is filled with love, compassion, and wisdom. It holds no judgment or fear. It is you in your purest form of light. It guides you every day through your intuition, right? Intuition is your gut feelings. Your soul resides in your core. So that's where your intuition and your gut feelings is, because it's connected to the soul, not the ego, which is up here. And if you want to learn to connect to your higher self more, that's through meditation. Meditation helps you connect to your higher self. So an example of the higher self is, for example, for me, sometimes in life, I will be puzzled by something in my mind, and I'll be thinking about it, and I might be thinking about it in a negative type of way, like I'm down, I'm like, man, I don't know what to do about this situation, it's like bothering me. And then out of nowhere, in my mind, I get this positive outlook on the situation, almost like it shifts my perspective in a more positive outlook, and I get all this clarity and wisdom around whatever it was that was bothering me. That's my higher self connecting and speaking to me. Right? So it's your more positive way of being, a positive way of thinking. The ego's more negative. It's almost like in those cartoons back in the day, you'd have the devil on one shoulder, the angel on the other. Your ego's like the devil and your higher self's like the angel, right? You've got the two voices. And what you really want to do is I'm giving you my 4 tips. My 4 tips, firstly, is acknowledging that you have a higher self and ego, because most people have no idea that they have either of these. They have no idea that there's 2 versions of themselves living in their head. Okay, so first it's acknowledging that there are 2 versions of you. The second thing was, learn the difference between the 2 when it's speaking to you, right? So whenever you're getting self-doubt or negative thoughts and feelings, you're like, okay, right, I know I have an ego now. This is my ego speaking to me. That's why I've got these negative thoughts. That's why I've got these self-doubt. It's because my ego's trying to keep me in my safe little box. Like, if you can acknowledge and learn when each voice is talking to you, you'll have more control over it, right? So when your higher self is speaking to you, that's where you get this positive perspectives, this clarity, this wisdom, like, just a better outlook, and you feel really good in your heart. Like, you're like, yeah. And so when you can start learning, oh shit, that's my higher self speaking to me right now. You start acknowledging it, start learning which one's talking to you when they're talking to you, right? Number 3 is setting intentions is powerful. So I recommend setting the intention to connect to your higher self. Just start setting the intention. I want to connect to my higher self more. I want my higher self to come through. I acknowledge I have a higher self now, so I would like to connect to it more. Set that intention. And the 4th tip is, whenever your ego's talking to you, like, okay, I know I have an ego now. I know it's my negative way of thinking. Okay, I've got these self-doubt thoughts coming in because I want to try something new. Okay, so that's my ego. Right, cool. I know what that is. So what you do, this is what I do, is I say, whenever my ego's talking to me, I say, ego, I don't want to hear from you right now. I only wish to hear from my higher self. So instead of trying to block the ego, you're basically, because if you try to fight the ego, there'll be resistance there. But you're pretty much telling the ego that I don't really want to hear from you right now. You need to step aside. I only want my higher self to come through. And so I highly recommend practicing connecting with your higher self through meditation and all this sort of stuff. I highly recommend strengthening your relationship with your higher self, because your higher self's where your intuition comes from. Your intuition is powerful. It guides you in life, literally. Like, if you learn to tap in and you learn how to listen, it will guide you with everything along the way. There have been times where I've listened to my intuition and it saved me. Like, it saved me from a bad situation. And then there were times where I didn't listen. I knew I should have listened, but I just didn't. For example, I was out, it was out in the sun, and I had no shoes and socks on. I got really white feet that never see the sun, and my intuition told me, put sunscreen on your feet. And I was being lazy, because I was laying there, I couldn't be bothered moving. I was like, it'll be all right. Didn't feel like the sun, it was that hot of a day, because there was clouds out. But honestly, man, I should have listened, because I got really badly sunburned feet. One of my feet swelled up really bad. I was on bed rest. I couldn't walk on it. It was really bad, and it actually looked, the color of my foot, it didn't look like sunburn I've ever had before. It actually looked like the sun half cooked my foot. And for a long time afterwards, it didn't heal properly. I don't even know if it's still quite healed properly, but it's healed a lot better than what it was, because whenever my foot would get hot, like in shoes and socks on a hot day or in the shower, my foot would get a bit tingly. And I'm like, oh, this is really weird. But anyways, that was my higher self, my intuition talking to me. I ignored it. I've regretted it. So it comes down to practicing your relationship with your higher self and the intuition, and practice like when it's speaking to you, acknowledging when it's speaking to you, and that'll help strengthen your bond with it. Right? So I'll give you examples down here in the green of the different ways of like how the ego thinks versus how the higher self thinks. So the ego's me, the higher self is we. Ego's separation, higher self is unity. Ego blames, the higher self is understanding. The ego's materialistic, and the higher self's more into spirituality. The ego likes to complain, the higher self's full of gratitude. The ego is all about the past and future, whereas the higher self is more now and in the present, and the ego's self-importance, and higher self is we-importance. So the ego's all like me, 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 and the higher self's all like us, we, unity, right? So, like, I highly recommend just learning when you're the difference between the two and when they're speaking to you, and then once you're able to do that, you will be able to navigate through life a lot better, because you can acknowledge, like, I know people that get put off doing things because of the self-doubt, but they don't understand the self-doubt's coming from the ego. They don't understand any of that concept. They allow the self-doubt to win, and they don't do what they want to do, but they don't understand it's the ego trying to keep them in their safe little box. So understanding these things, learning the difference, will help you navigate through life a lot better, strengthening your relationship with the higher self and strengthening your intuition, and it will guide you throughout life. It is amazing when you connect to your higher self. I absolutely love it, because I get such a high vibe feeling in my heart. Like, I know it when my higher self's speaking to me, and it just, the feeling I get in my heart is just like really high vibe, light type energy. Like, you just know you're fully connected in, you're tapped into a higher power. There's an analogy that one of my spiritual mentors used, which is like the higher self's up on the mountaintop, the ego's down in the valley. So the higher self has a better view on where you're going in your path, right? The ego can only see so far down here. The higher self's up here, it has a better view over everything, so it can guide you better on where to go. That's the analogy. So that's why it's really like, that's why I recommend just strengthening your relationship with your higher self, because it will honestly help guide you in life to get to where you want to go and succeed in whatever you want to succeed in. It's you know, it's the best thing you could do for yourself, really, and do it through meditation. Setting intentions is powerful. So yeah, start working on that relationship with the higher self, start quieting down your ego, and like I said, whenever your ego's talking to you, tell the ego to step aside. I don't want to hear from you right now. I only wish to hear from the higher self, and allow that to come through and guide you. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you liked this video. I hope you got something out of it. Like you've realized, like, damn, there's actually two versions of me. Who knew? So anyways, I'll leave you with that. Feel free to like, share, subscribe. Feel free not to. Feel free to share it. If you know someone that could learn from this, that may need some help in life, whatever. I'm not phased anyways. Just do you, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace!